Ladies and gentlemen, before I dive in, pause for a second and let me know in the comments, which town or city are you tuning in from right now? I guarantee the tale I'm about to share will grip you tight and leave you catching your breath. It began on a hushed evening, in the cozy confines of a seaside guest house, with a twist I never could have anticipated. Let me pull you back to that night. The gentle whir of the ceiling fan filled the air, a rhythmic lullaby as I kicked off my sandals and eased onto the corner of the mattress. We'd just wrapped a winding road trip from home. My son Daniel had insisted on driving every mile, saying I deserved a break. He had that calm, reassuring lilt in his voice, the kind that had deepened over time into a steady anchor for us both. We were headed to a big family gathering, the first without his dad, gone just over a year now. Daniel, at 40, had been the rock for all of us, piecing together the shattered bits with quiet resolve. But I'd spot it in the flicker of his gaze, those far-off stares out the car window, as if he were willing the old days to whisper back to him. The grief clung to him like fog, unspoken but ever-present. I'd reserved separate suites at the inn, but a booking glitch meant only one was ready when we pulled up. I wavered at check-in. Daniel and I hadn't bunked together since he was knee-high, but the clerk swore it was roomy, with twin setups side by side. What harm could it do? We chuckled about it in the creaky old elevator. I ribbed him. "Don't go rattling the rafters with your snoring." He flashed that lopsided grin, the one that still hinted at the kid he used to be. Stepping inside, the space glowed with amber hues from a pair of bedside lamps, cozy and inviting. The beds flanked a wide oak dresser topped with an antique mirror that spanned the wall like a silent witness. I glanced at my reflection and smoothed my sweater without thinking. Old habits, I suppose. Nothing to prove, just reflex. Daniel slung his duffel onto the farther bed and shrugged off his windbreaker. I couldn't help noticing how time had sculpted him. Solid frame, easy poise. A man now, through and through. "Feeling peckish?" he asked, that familiar warmth in his tone. "Starved," I replied with a grin. We dialed up some takeout from the kitchen downstairs, grilled chicken and rice for him, a light salad with shrimp for me. Conversation flowed easy while we waited. Chit-chat about the drive, the get-together ahead, a dash of current events. He checked in on me, as always, probing gently about my sleep, my stress levels, ever the watchful one. The meal arrived on a tray, and we settled cross-legged on our beds, flipping through channels until we landed on some mindless sitcom rerun. I can't recall the plot, but I do remember the spark in his eyes when I burst out laughing at one of his dry quips. It wasn't the casual glance of a son for his mom. It lingered, softer, probing, like he was seeing layers I'd forgotten were there. I let it slide, chalking it up to fatigue. By 10:30, I rose and stretched, my sweater hiking up just enough to bare a sliver of skin. I tugged it down absent-mindedly, but turning back, I caught Daniel's gaze fixed not on the screen or his fork, but on me. I froze for a beat. "Something up?" I teased, aiming for levity. He blinked, caught off guard. "Nah, just lost in thought." "You seem so alive tonight." "It's good to see." I tilted my head, absorbing that. "Feels good to be here with you?" His smile held a shadow, something raw flickering beneath. I perched back down, curling my legs beneath me. "You all right?" He nodded a tad too briskly. "Yeah, this whole trip's dredging up ghosts. Stuff I figured I'd tucked away for good." I stretched a hand across the divide between our beds, resting it lightly on his forearm. "You don't have to shoulder it solo, Dan." He covered my hand with his, and the room seemed to hush, the air growing dense with words we weren't ready to voice. "I get that," he murmured. "Some days I just don't know where to lay it all down." We lingered there, the TV's glow dancing shadows across the walls. Then he eased his hand free and rose. "Gonna rinse off," he said, voice a touch strained. I watched him slip into the bathroom, the faucet hissing to life. Alone, my pulse quickened. Maybe the long day, or perhaps something dormant stirring awake after years in hiding. When the water cut off, I wandered to the dresser to dab away the day's makeup. Leaning close to the mirror, cotton in hand, I spotted the door easing ajar in the glass's reflection. There he was, Daniel, not fully emerged, just a silhouette thinking I hadn't noticed. But I had. I held still, silent. The space between us hummed with the weight of old lines, the invisible fences of roles we'd played forever, parent, child, survivors. In that split second, a subtle realignment, not a break, but a softening. He retreated before I could react, door clicking shut. I finished up, my fingers unsteady, not from alarm, but from the quiet dawn of awareness. That look we'd shared? It carried ache, yearning, a tender ache neither of us had named. I sank onto the bed and waited. The door swung open again. He emerged bare-chested, a towel knotted at his hips, droplets tracing paths down his skin. He halted when our eyes locked, mine steady, unflinching. Words failed us both. In that hush, a current stirred, drawing us toward an honesty we'd never mapped out. It sparked from that mirrored glimpse, innocent yet profound. He lingered in the threshold, the bath's warm light framing him like a portrait from another life. Hesitant, exposed. I held his gaze. It would have been simple to shatter it with small talk. Grab a fresh towel? Or air dry that hair? But the words stuck. Instead, I stayed put, letting the truth hang bare, that I'd seen him see me and I wasn't shying away. Daniel padded softly to his bed, sinking down opposite me, towel secure, elbows on knees as he hunched forward. He avoided my eyes. "I never meant to weird you out," he finally said, the quiet stretching long. "It's just, sometimes I look at you, Mom, and these feelings hit me, and I don't know what to do with them." My throat tightened. "Daniel," I said softly, "I'm not thrown off. Not by you." That pulled his gaze up, eyes rimmed pink, heavy with bottled storms. "You're not?" I shook my head. "No, I think we've both been bottling things up way too long." He reclined, palms scraping his jeans as if to steady the churn inside. "Dad's passing." It flipped a switch. I started noticing you, not only as my mom, but as this incredible woman. And I loathed myself for it. Those words landed like a raw exhale, not sordid, just bare, achingly real. I drew in deep, the confession settling heavy. You don't have to punish yourself for what stirs in your heart, Daniel. Emotions just exist. They're not sins. He searched my face, weighing if it was mere comfort or something truer. Even I wasn't sure. "It's not only this evening," he went on quieter. "Remember last Christmas in the den when you leaned past me for the ornaments? Or that slow dance at Cousin Lila's party? Something tugged at me then, and I froze, clueless. Those flashes hit me, the warmth of his palm on my waist that night, the way our stares tangled. I hugged my arms close, nerves and memory mingling. Daniel, I'm your mother. I love you beyond words. But tonight, it feels bigger than echoes of loss or old dances." He dipped his head. "It does." Silence wrapped us again, thick and alive, as if the room itself had expanded to cradle this. "I keep picturing how isolated you get," he said. "Those quiet nights when no one's around to notice how radiant you still are." It landed like a spark, my hands fidgeting. "You notice?" "Always have," he said simply. That pierced deep, years of steeling myself as the steadfast widow, the devoted parent, the woman who'd faded into the background. But right then, I felt vivid, visible, desired in a way that mended cracks I didn't know were there. My words slipped out hushed. "I don't know how to hold that, Daniel." "You don't have to," he replied. I just had to voice it. Finally. I nodded, words failing, and clicked the remote to silence the TV. The abrupt quiet amplified our breaths, our pulses. He watched me seeking forgiveness, a bridge? I wondered if we teetered on some unforeseen ledge. "Afraid?" I ventured. "Terrified," he admitted instantly. "But not of you." "Of this?" My skin tingled with echoes of longing, long dormant, daunting, electric. "I can't say what this is," I breathed, "or where it leads." "Me neither. But I've never laid it out like this before." He inched closer. "You deserve to be cherished, Sarah, not just as my mom, but as the woman who still dreams, still yearns, still craves being truly desired." My name on his tongue, not Mom, sent a shiver racing down my back. I held still, gaze locked. "We tread light here," I managed, voice even, "with care, with honor, if there's even a path." He agreed with a nod. The bedside clock whispered ticks into the void, and I knew, whatever dawn brought, retreat or venture, we'd crossed into new terrain. Love, it turns out, doesn't always fit neat boxes. Sometimes it gleams back from a guest house mirror when you're utterly off guard. And once it catches your eye, it stays etched forever. The evening folded around us like velvet dusk, still and electric with the unsaid. We didn't rush or reach. Everything inside shifted on its own. I watched him recline, arms folded behind his head, tracing the ceiling's cracks. He seemed wiser in the low light, not the eager teen I'd launched into the world, but a man forged in sorrow's quiet forge. I mirrored him, sinking into the pillows, body weary but thoughts alive. That mirrored exchange replayed, his unguarded stare, the surprise of it feeling, right, not ruinous. We let quiet rain, pierced only by the fan's sigh and distant waves crashing beyond the window. But it wasn't void, it pulsed with intent. Then, ever daydream about a life without the mom title? His question sliced the hush, deliberate. I turned his way, though he stayed skyward. More than I'd admit, I confessed. Forbidden territory, but true, I'd pondered the roads not taken, the Laura unbound by duty. Doesn't mean I regret raising you, I added. Just, what ifs about the me that got sidelined? He met my eyes at last. Is this one of those what ifs? I sighed, gaze drifting up. Feels like a threshold to parts of me I never dared explore. A beat hung. I don't want to muddle you, he said, but tonight's stripped bare, no facades. Rare air, I drew my knees up. We've worn these masks so long, we forgot our real shapes. He mirrored me, towel slipping low but ignored, his look unwavering, profound. You're stunning, Mom. Not flattery, devotion, like a vow. I swallowed. Daniel, I know the weight of it, he cut in. The judgment's out there. But they don't touch what I know. You're not just the one who bandaged my falls or baked those apple pies. You're this. Layered, luminous, adrift in ways I see clear. I shut my eyes, his words wrapping my soul. He pierced the veil no one had in ages. I had no clue you carried that, I whispered. Words failed me till now. Inches divided our beds, but the gap had vanished. He claimed my hand. I yielded without pause. Warm, sure. How to mix up room in one stray look upend everything, I mused. Maybe it wasn't chance, he offered. Possibility, not peril. I rose, drawn back to the mirror's glow. My face stared back, eyes misty, lips ajar, mid-breath. Daniel stepped behind, near enough for his heat to brush me. No contact, just nearness. In the glass we stood, two souls in tender limbo, pulled not by haste, but heart's pull. This isn't mere skin deep, I said. Not solely. I know. It's the seeing, after eons unseen. He nodded, our reflections entwined. Precisely. Instinct guided my hand back. Our fingers grazed. He closed the space till his form shadowed mine, hands linked. The mirror held us, fragile, found. Back to bed? He murmured. I pivoted, heart thundering yet serene. No, just stay. Be here. And so we were, side by side at the bed's edge. Lights faded, no agenda, only nearness, pure and unmasked. His hand in mine, and for the first time in forever, I wasn't merely cherished. I was known, wholly. That hush deepened, rich with our shared now, the lamp's glow gilding us in honeyed light, every second suspended, precious. Time blurred. His thumb traced lazy circles on my skin, a lifeline. He enveloped me, not as son but seer, unearthing the woman I'd shelved under grief's load, role's demands. You bore it all so gracefully, I said, voice soft. He glanced over, eyes shimmering. Picked it up from the best, you. It landed tender, unexpected. Our laced fingers felt both ancient and newborn. I was lousy at claiming my own needs, I admitted. And I at voicing mine. A shared laugh rippled, easing the knot. His shoulder nudged mine. I leaned in, head nestling there, like old comforts, but reborn. He was no child now. And I tonight more than Mom. What of tomorrow? I whispered, dread and hope tangled. The gathering, the drive back to normal? To us, he said, but truer. I nodded, a pull lingering. Will it shift the ground? He paused. It already has. For the better. His candor wrapped me safe. Not barricades or routines, but the bold haven of being beheld and held fast. I angled toward him, knees brushing. I've poured myself into everyone else my whole life. Good moms, good wives do that, right? Never clocked how much of me slipped away. His face gentled. She's right here. Just waited for a mirror to show her. My fingers ghosted his jaw. His eyes drifted shut, accepting. When they reopened, depths swirled unnamed. No kiss crossed our lips. That wasn't the call. Instead, Foreheads met, breaths sinking in a bond fiercer than flesh, holier than labels. I love you, Daniel, I breathed. Love you too. Beyond blood, beyond romance, a realm profound, uncharted, divine. We clung so timeless. At last he eased me down, drew the quilt close, doused the light. In his bed opposite, silence reigned, but the ether hummed with it all. The mirrors spark, the bared hearts, the quiet accord. Dawn crept in, silver light threading the drapes, gilding the room anew. I stirred, unburdened, not solved, but surfaced. Something core had been named, not roles or relics, but Sarah, plain and whole. Daniel roused. Our smiles met, light liberated. Hey, he murmured. Hey. We dressed wordlessly, folded clothes, sipped bitter in-brew with crumbly scones, then stepped out, leaving the space, but carrying its gift. That eve wasn't boundary breached. It was bridge rebuilt. The world might squint at its nuance, as might I. But there, with my son, not mere parent and progeny, but souls unadorned, I reclaimed what grief had veiled. Me. And his parting whisper? You deserve eyes on you always. That sealed it, subtly, eternally transformed.